Hi, everybody. Welcome to our Pier 44 Commission meeting. This is Paul Barkowitz. I'm chair of the commission. For quorum, I note that Josh Sigworth is here and Howie Kreitzberg. Expect Tracy Johnson to be joining us as well. So we have a quorum. Corey Miles, our Coastal Resources Officer, is here, and as well as Madison and Jim from Copley Wolf. So let me read our statement about how we conduct the meetings. Scituate Harbor Advisory Redevelopment Commission is committed to providing an environment of respect during meetings. We ask all members to interact in a polite manner, even when there is disagreement. We value the participation of our community and want all participants, including marginalized and minoritized communities, to feel welcomed and respected. We ask our committee members and all who participate to commit to these standards to support and respect our community. I sent out the minutes of the May 9th, 2024 meeting. Is there a motion? Oh, welcome, Tracy. Tracy's here. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of May 9, 1924?
So moved.
Is there a second? I'll second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye, and I'll just do a roll call because we're video. So Paul, aye. Howie?
Aye.
Josh?
Aye.
Tracy?
Aye.
Great, thank you. Minutes approved. We're a little different from other commissions in Scituate. We're a single purpose commission working on the development of the park. And so it's been, I don't like to have meetings if there's nothing to talk about, or, I don't want to take up people's time if we don't have something substantive to talk about or action required. So we're in the permitting process, and so we have these lulls between when things happen. So Corey and I thought it would be an appropriate time to have an update to the commission and the public on where we are in the permitting process. So I'll turn it over to Corey, and I just want to mention just how fortunate we are to have the Copley Wolf team on board and helping us through this process. They've just been a real wonderful asset for this town, and I'm sure through a lot of their effort, as well as this commission and the town staff, that we're going to have a wonderful park that we'll all be proud of for many, many years in the future. So with that, I'll turn it over to Corey.
Thanks, Paul. Hi, everyone. So for the permitting process, we had to submit quite a few applications. The first one we submitted actually close to a year ago, and that was to MEPA, Massachusetts Environmental Protection Agency, and that was it's called the application's called an environmental notification form, and that was a really good process. That was with the state, and we got some good feedback from the regulatory agencies on how to improve the design, make the park more resilient, and we really made some changes to the design that I think were really helpful. And we are just at the point now where we're going through the town permitting process. That involves 3 different boards within the town itself. So the first one was the Conservation Commission. We had our first hearing with them last week, and it went well. They had nothing but accolades. I think they were really pleased with the project. They decided that they one of the application components is a stormwater permit. So they wanted to send the stormwater permit out for a secondary peer review. So the Conservation Commission didn't close on this project, but they likely will after the stormwater peer review. And we're scheduled to be on their next agenda for April 17th. We also have to go to the Zoning Board of Appeals to get a permit because there is something in our zoning bylaw that says a municipal park in the floodplain and watershed protection district needs to receive a special permit from the ZBA. So we will have that public hearing coming up on March 20th. And that will, I think, be on Zoom as well. The Conservation Commission was all on Zoom. And then after that, we have the planning board, and that meeting is scheduled for April 10th. So I don't think we'll have too many problems getting through the planning board, but they probably will want, some more details about the structure of, how the boardwalk will be constructed, how it will be anchored to the ground to make sure it resists, lateral loads from floodwaters. And so we'll be doing a little bit more of a technical presentation for that board. But once we get through those 3 permits, then we have another permit with the state called a Chapter 91 permit. And that involves the DEP Waterways Committee. They are going to evaluate how this project fits into their waterways regulations. And then after that, we have another application with the Army Corps of Engineers for the revetment. And then I believe we also have, well, actually, no, I think that's it. Army Corps of Engineers might be the last one. So once we get those permits, we'll be ready to go after that. So it's quite a lengthy process. It's very time consuming. All of these applications and boards and committees, they all have public notification. Things have to be advertised in the newspaper multiple times. Abutters need to be notified by certified mail, return receipt requested. So it's an arduous process, but we're well on our way to getting through it. So hopefully we'll be able to complete the permitting process in the next 10 months.
Corey, I just add on the MIPA process is quite challenging, and I really want to compliment your work and as well as Copy Wolf and GZA and dealing with all the comments we received and addressing issues and making modifications. So that was a big deal and a very strong effort on on your part and the Copy Wolf team. So that's really good. The other thing we're working on is funding. Getting through the permit process will be great, but we'll still have to come up with the grant funding. So we're working with CPC and identifying other funding sources. So before we go to town meeting again, we'll want to have made a lot of progress in terms of getting funding. So is there a presentation, Corey?
Yeah, I believe Copley Wolf is going to run through the site plans.
Great, thank you.
So Madison's going to introduce boards, and she will go through the first few sheets and probably take us to where we've been. And there hasn't been a ton of changes since last May's Shark 8 meeting. But basically, Madison will remind everyone where we were, and then I'll step in and talk about the very minor changes we have, and then go through a few other sheets. So we're obviously open to questions at any point. I don't know if all the other meetings were terribly formal, but we certainly want it to be participatory. So if people have questions along the way for clarity, please just speak up. Thanks, Madison.
Sure. And I just want to acknowledge that you may be missing someone that was presenting the last Shark meeting, Christine. She, of course, was kind of heading the project, and Jim and I were involved kind of on the sidelines. But I just want to address that, although sadly she's left the office and she's moved to North Carolina due to personal reasons. But I think the enthusiasm from our perspective is not changed. I think for me personally, I go to Brant Rock, Marshfield every single weekend in the summer, and I spend a lot of time in Scituate walking around downtown, the lighthouse, the restaurants and stuff. So it feels a little personal for me. So I just want to kind of ease anyone's mind in that we're really excited about this project and pushing it forward as quickly as possible. We're really excited to kind of get through this design and make it a really awesome park for you guys.
And just not a coincidence, but Madison and I are actually working on another park about the same size right now for the city of Boston in Alston. And it too is a passive park, and it too is replacing parking, and it too is being really created for the community. So and we feel there's a lot of nice parallels. This one's on the water, that one is not. That's probably the only difference. So we don't have to go through as many hoops, except with the city of Boston.
So I'll kind of take us through and feel free to jump in, but I think a lot of this is what you've seen before, so I won't spend too much time on it. But if you want me to go back to the slide, please speak up. Just as a reminder, the project website has been posted. You can access it via this QR code, and this has all the Shark meetings, public meetings, questionnaires, etc., in case anyone needs any information on this. And then this has been kind of summarized by others, but the schedule the last time we met was in May of 2024. We're now in March of 2025, and as was mentioned, there aren't too many design updates, although we are starting to look at refinements. It's been a lot of permitting, revetment exploration, and getting Chapter 91 kind of together. So I think hopefully in the next few weeks, we'll get through CONSCOM, we'll get through ZBA, Planning Board. Doesn't sound like Army Corps is that rigorous of a process, so that shouldn't take too long. I think we're really just waiting to see how Chapter 91 goes, but ideally in the fall, we'll start to have, closer to what we're calling 90% design drawings, and we'll be working with you guys. Josh, I know we'll be talking with you on kind of the disabilities aspect of it, and Tracy working with you on kind of the fun stuff, park programming and art and all of that. So hopefully this summer we'll have some fun meetings and conversations to go through as we kind of refine the design.
Just a question, Madison. Corey mentioned that we'll have to talk with the Corps about the revetment work. Will we talk with the Corps as well on the small boat dock and ramp?
We will.
Okay.
So again, you've seen this slide before, but just a reminder of where we were and kind of what's changed. We had this 30% design in November. And some of the main comments, although design was being refined, was that this retaining wall behind the boardwalk and concerns of how water's moving, filling, and then how that planted berm kind of works. So we had some concerns about that. That was removed. Additionally, in February, there were still kind of concerns about how water kind of moves through this planted berm. We had a concrete access walkway from the parking lot. as well as here and here. And so since then, those have been removed so that we're really making sure that the water is moving in the right direction. It can get through this planted berm if it needs to during a flooding season. And that there's no water being pushed in other directions. And Jim will kind of touch on that a little bit later in this presentation. Again, a reminder, this was the 30% design. Just as a little flag up here, this is like a little legend, just means that magenta is something that was commented on as a concern, and blue means that it was addressed. So in the 30% design, again, there was concerns about this retaining wall here, and how that fill and the water is going to be moved. Then we got to 60% design, which was the MIBO resubmission in February, so just about a year ago. As you can see, we were making some tweaks, but there were more comments about, again, these little fingers of concrete here filling near the revetment, how that works with the vegetated berm. There were concerns about, we had interplanted stone between the plantings, and then additionally, the comfort station was of concern. So those were all addressed. And here is the plan from last May that you guys most recently saw. So again, you can see this boardwalk and these fingers are now all wood elevated, so water can do what it needs to do. We got rid of the stone in these interplanted areas, extended the boardwalk, got rid of the comfort station. So as Christine presented last May, we're now considering something similar to this portable restroom, which would be located somewhere in this parking lot. And then, as Paul mentioned, there was a long conversation last meeting about the potential boat, small boat tie-up, which has now been corrected to, it is a boat tie-up that has been part of the zoning, planning board and Chapter 91 application. So that is all in our basis design. And then this is where we're at today. Again, doesn't seem too different. We've got the boat tie up here that is part of the project. As you can see, we're making some small tweaks, but Jim, I don't know if you want to take it away from here.
Yeah, the design really hasn't changed too much. One of the big changes was actually moving the plaza from the last iteration out of the planting bed into toward the rain garden area. So that's a good move and it was reduced also. So the previous one had the plaza moved out of the planting bed, moved in toward the rain garden, but we reduced it even more because we understand that the most of the people are coming here to go onto the boardwalk and get into the shade structure and enjoy the view and not necessarily hang out on a plaza. So that could possibly even be reduced some more. So the intent is that the lawn is that social spot. It is for the community. It is a sort of a pause point between downtown Scituate and for the people who do the walk out to the lighthouse. I pointed out to the Conservation Commission for the parking area that there was some one concern from a neighbor about parking on Jericho Road. So we actually pointed out that the parking that's showing along Jericho Road actually is where the existing sidewalk is now. So we're not reducing the road at all. The sidewalk actually steps into the site. And, it's basically repeating that those two flanking rain gardens on the north and the south end of the parks, they are actually reduced in grade. So as the water runs off the site, it collected in through there and then it outfalls back into the harbor itself. You can go to the next one. The next one, actually, yeah. So the program, as you can see from 2023, there was the comfort station. There was that plaza sort of getting close to the community boardwalk. Madison already brought up the walls, which was a concern because it was diverting water. It was off to the sides. And the comments came in from all the environmental people that it'd be best if the waters flowed through the site similar to what it does today, not hit an obstruction and pick up velocity and go to the left and the right. Next one. So you can see where that plaza moved toward the rain garden. Exactly. The comfort station became more of a portable bathroom which actually can be detached if a significant weather event is coming through. It can be detached and removed from the site completely, and then come back and be hooked back up again. Next one. You can see with a small boat launch, and we've said that boat launch, when we say boat, we're talking kayaks and canoes. Maybe someone drags their sunfish down there. It's not meant for motorboats. The comfort station is now more of just a portable bathroom. Again, flexible in that parking lot, and the flexible plaza. It's flexible because as we develop the plan, as we get toward the final, it might be just a very small paved area for picnic tables and that kind of thing. It's really meant to focus on boardwalk and lawn. And these sections actually do show the existing grade at basically in red. Its site is being raised slightly, but because there's no obstructions as the water flows through the site, it comes underneath the boardwalk, underneath those connections of the land to the boardwalk, and continues across the site toward Jericho Road, pretty much as it does today. And as we go through some other subsequent sections, it's going to repeat that. As you can see, the water flows to the site underneath any kind of built structure on the site. Next one, same. You can see that boardwalk that Madison mentioned, getting out the bridge walkway to the boardwalk. And next one. And we can come back to this if people have any questions, but this is actually showing the mean high water mark as at different elevations as it comes through the site, as existing conditions, what it does today, what's projected to do, and then with the park in place as well. So the change isn't really significant at all. The water's still going to flow through the site, still get to Jericho Road, and then recede back toward the harbor. Yeah, I think the next one begins to show the direction of the flow. So it basically illustrates as the water comes through the site, it's going to be directed into those edge rain gardens. And there's a culvert that collects water and it will empty back out into the harbor. There was some concern by one of the neighbors that water is being directed toward their site. But that rain garden to the south is actually it's going to be excavated down about 3.5 feet. So it actually becomes a much lower point than it is today that exists on site. And of course, on site today, it's pavement from edge to edge. And with that 20 to 40 foot wide vegetative buffer reduced in height, it will collect the water and then drain back out toward Scituate Harbor. We get a lot of applause by the Conservation Commission on the indigenous planting. So we are using indigenous planting. So it can be, once established, very, very low maintenance. It's what you'd expect to find in Scituate or anywhere along the coast. Next one. And when it comes to site furnishings, we haven't picked any kind of final site furnishings, but these were just some examples of some very durable materials that could possibly be used. That's a little further down the road. The idea is that the boardwalk itself would have, possible permanent swings and seating on it as well, so people can gather there and look at the lighthouse and meet friends there along the pause point from downtown to the lighthouse. And of course, when it comes to providing continuity to the town, it's really just trying to recycle materials. Maybe we can recycle the blocks that were removed from the lighthouse. Certainly, any kind of additional sculpture we put in there would be consistent with the character of the town and recall the history and the connections of the Irish moss and your sister cities around the world. And Madison, if you want to go through the perspectives.
Yeah, and you guys have seen this before, but just kind of a reminder visual for you. We're standing at that finger over here that has become a boardwalk now. To your right is the parking lot. Admittedly, this has been closed off in the plan, so this is all planting now. So this
Mhm.
plaza area actually has a little bit more buffer to it. But you still have really awesome views of the harbor in the background, and hopefully it's as fun as it looks in this 3D model. And then here's the other view that again you've seen before. Right under us here is one of those rain gardens that is intended to capture water. This one would really be the one that intercepts some of the flow going to Jericho Road. So hopefully that helps actually mitigate that a little bit. But again, as you can see coming down from Hatherley Road, beautiful view of the harbor. And that's it. Again, it was the same presentation as basically last May, a lot of kind of schedule updates for us. And then also like, a stay tuned as we'll be kind of reaching out to you guys this summer to coordinate some of the things you guys are interested in, and then also understand priorities.
We're happy to go back to any of the slides if you've have forgotten things from last year, or you want us to elaborate a little bit further on any of the details.
Hey, Jim, I just wanted to add a couple of points. Thank you for you and Madison for that update. On the parking, we did review the parking plan with, I think it's called the Traffic and Safety Commission, Corey, and they gave us a letter of approval. We did that last
Great.
year, I believe. That was good. And then we presented to the select board consideration. If you keep that image on the screen, you can see the marina to the right and a green area between the road and the parking. We presented for consideration by the select board putting parallel parking where that green area is. So again, it wouldn't reduce the road, and there'd be the sidewalk would be relocated. So we could pick up, I think it's 11 or 12 additional spaces without compromising developing a park instead of a parking lot. And I think while the select board didn't formally vote, I would say the reception was very positive. So that's more potential parking.
Yeah, and just so one of the things, related to parking, Paul, I actually enjoyed the Conservation Commission's comment that this development of this site from parking lot and building to park was, their words were effectively a no-brainer.
Right.
I mean, we're reducing pavement, we're reducing heat, we're reducing particulates blowing into neighbors' properties and across the road. We're reducing accelerated flow of water going through the site with all the vegetation and mounding and directing it where it should go rather than just having it go wherever it wants to go. So it's
right. Yeah, the other thing on parking, I think with all the outreach we've done in terms of surveys and meetings and town meetings, I think there's overwhelming support for this parking concept we presented, but we are aware that there's some folks that want more parking, and so that's why we've reached out to the select board about developing some more parking in very close proximity adjacent to that marina parking lot. So we're trying to address all the comments we've received in a responsible way. Jim, could you confirm that on the south side there'll be a new fence?
Yes, there'll be a fence on the south and the north side. So basically, one of the sections did show a fence along that property line. So it's a little bit important that even on the north side, Paul, between the marina parking lot and the park itself, that it feels like there's some sort of closure and spatial closure within the park itself. Right. So, and for the neighbor to the south, yes, a fence along that property line too. So they not only get the fence to screen what's going on now. Of course, there is a fence there today, but they also get a 20 to 40-foot wide planted buffer. So that'll again help mitigate any kind of flow, and as well as by lowering the grade, direct the water to one spot and then back out to the harbor again.
Great. And then I just want to emphasize a point you made that while we'll have portable toilets that will be very nice, the kind you have at weddings and other events, but they'll be connected to town sewer, so they won't have to be
Yep.
pumped out or anything like that. So I think that'll be a nice feature. We have many people that make the walk from the Harbor Business District out to the lighthouse and out to the Maritime Center as well. And so, one of the comments, or among the comments we received in our public outreach, was the desire to have public toilets available there. So I think really appreciate the creativity of Jim and Madison, your team, and accommodating that, and particularly with the working with the regulatory agencies and being compliant with the zoning in a flood zone and things like that. So I think we'll be really responsive to what the public's asked for in that regard. So really happy about that. So let's open it up to the other commissioners for comments or questions, and then we'll go for public comment.
I have no questions or comments. I think it looks great, and I'm looking forward to putting any input I can as we move forward.
Great. And as Madison and Jim said, Josh will be looking to you to review the design in terms of universal access. That's always been an important feature of what we're doing. So
Yeah, and that's been a goal for us from the beginning, that everything is less than 5% slope, if where there are slopes, but it's meant to be as accessible as it possibly can be, and it is. So and that'll include actually the access ramp down to the floats as well.
yeah, and then Tracy and Patrice will be on point for developing the additional elements that you've mentioned, the swings and benches, but also very importantly, elements that reflect our history, culture, art, and other aspects that are important to the town.
Yeah, we really look forward to working with Tracy and Patrice on that one, Paul, because that connectivity from the business district to the lighthouse, and being able to stop and have the lighthouse talk to this park and vice versa. There's so many great opportunities for I'm not going to call it events, but we don't know what you have down the pike to celebrate that lighthouse, but it's such a great punctuation mark to the harbor, and to have that be able to talk to perhaps some architectural lighting that just sort of accentuates the finer points of the boardwalk. And when I say lighting, it's meant to be ambient, that celebrates really the structure of things, and not be lighting that's gratuitous and gets off to the neighbors' properties and things like that. It's really meant to be that benchmark as you walk or drive by the site, especially in the off hours when it gets a little bit darker out.
Yeah, I mean, it's an agenda item on each of the rec commission meetings. And again, the feedback has been just, again, if we can figure out a way to maximize the space to allow food trucks to come in, for families, and, just sort of what the programming for kids, to be able to have fun in the park as well. So those are just the two reoccurring themes that the rec commission just wants to make sure, that it's, if those things could be included as well.
Yeah, and that's why I mentioned the park that Madison and I are also working on in Alston. It's meant to be not a park with playgrounds and splash pools. And so it's meant to be a place that you guys can program. You bring a food truck in, you want to celebrate, if whether it's, a historic benchmark in the town, or just whatever it's going to be. You bring in the food trucks, you park them along the sidewalk along the street there. People grab their food, they come sit those benches. Maybe you have music in Friday afternoons, for instance, for
Exactly.
3 hours, that sort of thing. And you can
Yes.
set that up in the shade structure, or maybe you have events on the lawn itself. So it's meant to be that sort of imaginative, loose parts play type of strategy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we
We're
just have
not
to work.
we're not talking about the Woodstock Festival.
No,
This
not
is,
at all.
No, but I also, I think the whole way of, I mean, we all know the town has a lot of rules and regulations, like, how's the permitting going to work? Who's going to own that? Just all of that stuff has to be talked through.
hmm
Yeah, and I think with any use of town property, there'll probably be an application to the select
Right.
board, like you see on almost every agenda. And one other thing we've mentioned before, but just for folks that haven't been following us as closely, we have, we're removing the existing building, thank goodness. But that is used for various activities, and we've coordinated with the town. The town has a list of everyone who uses the existing building and has identified alternative locations. So those activities, if they can't continue at the park, there'll be a place on town property for those activities. So we'll be coordinating all of that. And of course, I'm not a yoga person myself, but I think I might take up yoga if it's on the boardwalk or under the shade structure, in early morning. That would be pretty spectacular.
Absolutely.
Howie, any comments or questions? You're on mute, Howie.
I think that you've done a terrific job with the parking issue. I think you've maximized it in a couple locations. I think that's, to me, looks expansive. And the other thing of interest in particular is a boat ramp where we can have people, maybe transient boaters, which we have a lot during the summertime, come ashore easily and enjoy the facility. So I think that's a very big plus for us. And I'll mention that back to the Waterways Commission at the next meeting.
Yeah, thank you, Howie. And definitely our plan is to have the Waterways Commission have a very lead role in managing that, the use of that and coordinating the use of that facility.
You might want to watch the phrase ramp because I know a lot of boaters think ramp. When they think ramp, they think of vehicular ramp. And this is a pedestrian system. So
Is it a dock?
Yeah,
more
I
of
would
a
agree with
dock.
you. I don't think we should use, I don't think we should use the ramp at all. It connotes boat launch ramps too, and I
Exactly.
don't think that's what you want.
But what's is a proper term dock?
Yeah, I would call it it's basically a dock and float system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have one at my house. And in the wintertime, you take the floats out, and we talked to Corey. It's I think there may have been a question about that, like the ramp for the pedestrian ramp and access to the floats would be removed every season and stored someplace. And so it's meant to be, I'll say, low impact use and not meant to have motorboats tied to it. And I imagine at low tide as well, you probably, if someone did try to tie their motorboat to it, they probably would have to be at the end because I know the depth of water isn't all that deep for motorboats.
And we have to watch that definition too, because I think it would allow for inflatable boats.
Mhm.
It seems to me from what I'm looking at with the water depths there, at least an inflatable could go in there and that would be suitable.
Yeah, we did
So
something.
I think what I've seen in some of the diagrams that there's going to be a number of pilings to anchor this, and so I think that'd be good access.
Yeah, we did something similar at in Essex, and it's the
Mhm.
same thing. That the town actually restricts the type of water mobiles that can actually park there, and they do not allow motored boats to park at the floats. It can only be kayaks, again, like a sunfish, um, canoes, that kind of thing. So.
Uh, Dan or Craig or Pat, any comments or questions?
Not for me.
Yeah,
This is
hello,
Dan.
how you doing?
Hi, Dan.
This is Craig?
Craig.
Yeah, hi, Paul. I don't know if you remember me, but I was part of the committee at the very beginning.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, so I had a idea when I was down there looking at the site, knowing that it's close by to the Rebecca and Abigail's home, and maybe to have a statue of the Army of Two in the park as a kind of a focal point.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, another thing is I think it'd be good to have a name for the park that resonates a little bit more than just park. And certainly Rebecca and Abigail Bates, you know, their impact at the lighthouse, which we can see, and their home just up the street, that'd be in the running for that consideration. That's something else that we'll have to think about in the future. You know, having a name for the park that really resonates with our history and adds to the attraction of the park.
Yeah, it would be a nice story to be able to tell in the park.
Right. Thank you,
Just a
Craig.
thought.
Yep. Dan or Pat, anything?
Nothing here.
Okay, thanks, Dan.
Paul, can I usually ask a question going back that what I think Corey talked about earlier? Have we submitted anything to the state regarding the Chapter 91?
Yeah, we have actually. Yes. I think Corey, I'm not sure if you mentioned that. I think you did.
Yes, the permit's been submitted to
Hmm.
the state waterways for to receive a Chapter 91 permit. It's very long time for them to, I don't know what causes the significant time that it takes for them to look at it, but it's you know, anywhere from 6 to 18 months for them to look at it.
Well, that's our experience too, not only with Chapter 91, but also with the Army Corps. Currently, we're waiting for the Army Corps to give us permission to do some dredging in the harbor, maintenance dredging, and we're estimating 2 years. So it is what it is, at least what we've seen. So
Yeah, that was the far right-hand edge of Madison's chart, unfortunately.
yeah.
Okay, if there aren't any other comments, we'll move to reports from commissioners. Howie, anything to report?
No, when do you think, Paul, we may have some cost estimates?
Well, I actually talked to Corey this week about that. We are going to reach back out to our cost estimators and progress the 90% a little bit further just to make sure we get what we supposed to have on that set so we can get a more accurate price. So What did I tell you, Corey? I think sometime in August or so, we would have a cost estimate update because you were speculating that you might have another town meeting in the fall. Is that correct?
Yeah, if we can get a cost estimate and we get by, this fall, we will have a Chapter 91 permit. We're hoping, but yeah, this fall, once we get the design progresses kind of almost to the end.
So
Yeah, I
how
mean,
we
Jim, we can't really, it wouldn't be a reason to go to town meeting until we have all the permits. And
Mhm.
No, I agree, Paul. As I say, we have experience on the other side of the harbor
yeah,
working with these groups. So I didn't know just where we stood, but I get it.
Yeah, we are going to progress the drawings a little bit further, get some details, because in order to get a good cost estimate, we want to make sure we have the right information on the sheet, and
Sure.
you can have that in your pocket. So when you're ready to go, you're ready to go.
I think, Jim, the other thing is, again, in the permitting process, we may have to make some changes and as well, which of course affects the cost. So
Mhm.
We're hoping that the Chapter 91 doesn't come back with very many changes at all. That's our hope.
Tracy, any reports?
No. Rec commissions, we have our meeting, it keeps getting postponed, so it's not until next week, so.
Josh?
No new reports. I'll let you know if anything comes up though.
Okay. I'll report that in December, I was invited to participate in the high school program of developing civics action activities. The high school students have to have a civics action project. And so I was on a panel with some other folks and was talked about the park and had, it was a lot of interest. And one thing was, I think I said, listen to what I'm saying about the park, and then you can correct your parents when they say the wrong thing or don't have the facts correct. So it was really nice to be with high school students and just see the enthusiasm and creativity. And we have super impressive high school students in Scituate for sure. All right, that concludes the reports from commissioners. Any additional public comment?
Paul, could I just ask a question on these upcoming meetings, like the planning board and Board of Appeals and so forth? Is there a way that we could be notified or an update on the calendar so we're aware of it?
Yeah, I've done that with the other meetings we've had, so I'll continue to do that, Howie. I'll send out the agenda information and the meeting information, so you'll be able to participate. As Corey said, some of these will probably be by Zoom, but others may be in person. So we'll have to see on that.
You can always submit a letter of support too, because the planning board will consider the parking that we've suggested and designed, but they might decide that they want more and change things. So it would be great if there was some community support at the meeting so that, the design can stay mostly as it is right now.
For those of you who don't know, the town of Scituate has a subscription service that you can sign up for and get notification of the agendas for the upcoming meetings for the select board, planning commission, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, thank you, Dan. Yeah, that's I'm subscribed to a number of those, and it really works very well. But as I said, I'll get out notice to the folks, commission folks on these upcoming meetings. Any other thing anyone wants to bring up for this meeting? As I said, we'll schedule the next meeting as appropriate when we have more information to talk about, or certainly any action items. So with that, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
Motion?
Is there a second? Second. Any discussion? Paul, yes. Howie?
Yes.
Tracy?
Yes.
Josh?
Yes.
Great. Well, thank you, everyone. Again, thanks, Corey. You're a godsend for sure for our project, as well as everything else you do for the town. And Copley Wolf team, you guys just amazing, and really couldn't be more appreciative of what you do. And,
Thank you, Paul.
we will have a spectacular park that will be just a gem for our town, and you're all be a big part of that. So thank you, everyone. And Seth, as always, thank you for Community TV. Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank
Night.
you.